He strode to the crease with the quiet certainty of a man whose presence changed the shape of a cricket field. When his bat connected, conversation stopped and the stadium leaned forward. Today that hush is heavier because Robin Smith, the fearless, elegant batter who belonged to a generation that measured courage in square cuts and defiant innings, has died at 62. The news arrives like an unexpected late delivery of grief. One moment the memory of his strokes is all we have. The next we're left with questions and a profound sense of loss. Robin's cricketing life was forged on temperament as much as talent. Born in South Africa and later wearing England's cap with quiet dignity, he became the kind of player whose technique disguised a fierce will. He relished confrontation. The fastest bowlers, the most hostile spells, the most difficult situations. When others retreated, he advanced. When others batted cautiously, he played with the conviction of a man who believed the game, and perhaps the world, would respond to audacity. That belief produced some of the most memorable innings of his era, performances that are still replayed not for statistics alone, but for the way they lifted crowds and teammates alike. His batting was many things: graceful, measured, clinical, and occasionally explosive. The square cut became his signature, not merely a shot, but a declaration. Against the toughest attacks, he displayed an uncanny ability to read seam and pace, to control fear with footwork and timing, and to turn pressure into an opportunity to score. He amassed runs for county and country with a consistency that earned him admiration from fans and respect from opponents. For Hampshire, he was more than a servant of the club. He was a talisman, a figure who carried the hopes of a county on seasons when glory seemed distant yet possible. Off the field, Robin's public persona was softer than his on-field aggression suggested. He could be reserved, introspective, and honest. He carried a quiet wit and a loyalty to teammates that endeared him to those who shared contracts, dressing rooms, and long tours. His nickname, the Judge, was bestowed with affection, a reference first to his distinctive hair, then to the measured authority with which he approached his craft. But beneath measured authority and a controlled exterior, a private life unfolded that was not always easy to reconcile with the applause of packed stands. Retirement from professional sport can be a violent rupture for many athletes. Identity, routine, and the adrenaline of competition ebb away, leaving a landscape that must be navigated without the familiar guideposts of match day. For Robin, that transition included a very public struggle with alcoholism and the mental health challenges that often travel in the wake of sporting retirement. He spoke about those battles later in life with a frankness that suggested both regret and the desire to destigmatize pain. Those admissions did not diminish the memory of his feats. Rather, they added layers to his humanity, reminding us that courage can coexist with vulnerability. In recent years, he had sought a quieter life. He moved to Australia, at times distant from the rhythms of English cricket, but still connected to the sport he loved. There were signs of reconnection, visits to younger squads, meetings with former colleagues, and moments when his presence in a dressing room seemed to calm nervous players who were still learning what it took to stand up to international bowlers. Those who saw him in these later moments spoke of a man carrying the weight of his past, but also working towards small pieces of peace. The end was sudden and unexpected. The world learned that Robin had been found dead at his home, and the immediate reaction was a mix of shock, sorrow, and questions. For many, the urge to speculate is natural. Grief often reaches for answers. Yet the more important impulse for now is remembrance of the man who thrilled with bat and who, in his quieter hours, loved the game with the intensity of someone who had given it his very best. His family's privacy and the dignity of a life lived in public and in private deserve space as investigations proceed and as those who loved him process the news. Tributes have arrived not as empty condolences, but as stories and recollections that reveal what he meant to people. Teammates remember innings in which his composure altered the course of a match. Opponents recall facing his cut and the way it carried authority. Supporters speak of afternoons at the ground when his bat made mundane hours feel extraordinary. Beyond statistics and records, the common theme in these tributes is a recognition of a man who confronted life frankly, a competitor who was generous with his time, and an individual who, despite his flaws and challenges, remained deeply human. What remains indelible is the duality of Robin Smith's legacy, the brilliance of an accomplished sportsman and the candidness of a man who confronted personal struggle. His achievements on the field were real and measurable. They will remain in scorebooks, highlight reels, and the recollections of those who watched. Equally real were the battles he fought away from the cameras, the nights that tested him, and the efforts he made to speak about those experiences later in life. That mixture of triumph and struggle makes his story more than a tale of runs and records. It is a reminder that even those who seem unshakable are capable of suffering. In the quiet that follows news like this, there is also an opportunity, an invitation to consider how societies treat former athletes, how they provide support during and after careers, and how fans and institutions can balance celebration with compassion. Cricket, like other sports, thrives on narratives of heroism, but it also flourishes when those narratives are tempered by an understanding of the human costs that sometimes accompany high performance. Remembering Robin Smith fully means honoring his victories and acknowledging his vulnerabilities. For those who draw comfort from memory, there are endless moments to revisit. His confident stride to the crease, the precise geometry of a well-timed shot, the way opposition fieldsmen would glance toward the scoreboard as if the inevitable had already happened. For those who did not see him play, there are recordings and stories that capture something of the man's essence. In all these, what persists is the clarity of someone who loved the game, who gave himself to it, and who let his bat do much of his talking. As the cricketing world, and indeed those beyond it who admired courage in any form, mourns, it does so with respect. Robin Smith's life resists reduction to tidy summaries. He was an artist with a willow, a teammate who inspired confidence, a man who struggled privately, and now, one whom many will miss publicly. In grief, we are reminded of the simple truth that fame does not insulate against hardship, and that empathy is often the most fitting tribute. Let the record show the runs and the matches, but let it show, too, the fuller life, the laughter in dressing rooms, the quiet moments of contemplation, the apologies when needed, and the attempts to rebuild after hardship. Those who loved Robin will carry their own stories of him. Those who admired him from afar will remember how, for a time, his bat transformed ordinary afternoons into unforgettable theater. In the end, that mixture of brilliance and humanity is perhaps the truest measure of his legacy.